Good morning, everyone. It's time for another edition of the Daily Racing Form Weekend Preview. I am Gino Buccola alongside Alexa Zepp. Alexa, we're going to be able to head on out for some holiday racing to Turfway Park this weekend. I got to give Turfway a lot of credit. I know it's a track that you played a little bit and you're kind of familiar with, you're not too far away from, but Turfway has improved their racing product over the last couple years so much. It like little small things, and then every year it got better and better. First off, I think the purse structure was raised a little bit. They improved the broadcast so you could just see here. There was just a better broadcast overall for the horse players that were watching, and the field sizes have grown, and now they're creating a stakes day like this Saturday where there are 4 stakes races, all $250,000. They've sort of moved these stakes races around the calendar and just put them all together on one day. And we can talk about an all stakes pick 4 at Turfway Park. I just wanted to give them a lot of credit because in an era where we see a lot of tracks like downsizing and closing up, it's really cool to see one track succeeding, doing so well, and just flipping the way that I think the perception was of this track a few years ago.
Absolutely. They're doing a great job. And you see it. You see what's happening. People are bringing horses from all over to compete here now, more than what we might have, used to be seeing. So I actually drove past it the other day. I drove out to Horseshoe, Indiana, and drove past on the way back. I've never been, but it's like an hour from me. So I definitely need to get out to Turfway. But yeah, we're going to take a look at the Prairie Bayou this for tomorrow on Saturday. It's exciting. This holidays are coming up, racing's ramping up again. We got all these stakes races. And I don't know about you, Gino, but I got a little bit of an extra pep in my step as this all is approaching.
I do too. I'm planning on wearing something a little Christmas themed next week, so maybe we can plan some outfits and stuff like that. So, anyways, let's get through the field for the Prairie Bayou. There are 4 of these stakes races, all of them $250,000 up for grabs. And remember, at Turfway Park, everything's synthetic. So the surface there is a synthetic surface. It's not the dirt. It's not the turf. It's the all-weather surfaces that some tracks have. And what's unique about it is you'll get horses that have run on both turf and dirt, as well as the synthetic surfaces in different places. So you really do get horses, like in this race, that have come from all of these surfaces. I thought the one Hush of a Storm is a real player in here, Alexa. I've just become a big fan of this guy the last couple years. At Turfway, he's done such good work, and he's a horse who kind of always shows up, kind of outruns his odds too. I think he'll get a really nice trip down on the inside. To me, he feels like a big contender in here.
I agree. I like him a lot, especially at those 8-1 odds. He got a trainer upgrade this summer when he was claimed in place with Brad Cox. So there's a fast pace predicted in this race, and best late pace in here is Hush of a Storm with a 124 time from US rating. So, he gets Machado aboard for the first time, who is doing really well at Turfway right now, sitting 6th place on that jockey leaderboard.
The number 2, Exalted, got really good last year in the early to middle part of 2023. He won back-to-back graded stakes races, including the Grade 1 Shoemaker Mile, but he got injured, and this year he kept getting backed up when he was supposed to start. Like little things kept happening before he could get to the races. Just hasn't really seemed the same, Alexa. Like he hasn't progressed like the horse that he was last year.
I agree, and almost every start except for one has been in California. So Peter Yurton is bringing him across the country to try this out. And you're right, he's just not in the best of form and would need to run back to those best performances, I think, in order to really make an impact here. So I passed over him this time.
We talk about horses who have big races. Money Supply is a graded stakes winner. He's shown us that he can jump up with a huge race, but he's never been on the synthetic. Same thing for Exalted. So these are horses who have to prove it on the surface, and they're not really in the greatest of form at the current moment.
Yeah, he's had 3 back-to-back poor performances. Now, I do expect him to improve off of the last start because it's second off the layoff and he's had 2 fast workouts, but he'd have to improve a lot, and I'm just not super confident about it.
Hidden Stash comes off a runner-up effort. That was against a lot softer, though, over at Presque Isle. Does have some synthetic form, but just not a real win machine as of late. What do you think about Hidden Stash? He's a big price in here.
Big price. I tossed him. I don't think he's ever really run fast enough to beat these opponents. And then when you add the class jump on top of it, I'm just not interested.
Oh, poor Stiletto Boy we'll get to next. He just hasn't been firing any big races recently. This is a horse who won the Santa Anita Handicap. If you're looking at the Daily Racing Form past performances, on the bottom of your page, you see the big cap win. But after that, you don't see any other wins. That was back in March of 2023. It's like they've tried different things. They tried the turf. They tried going longer. They tried cutting him back. I just don't know how much he has left, Alexa.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the screen on the top right, we show the earnings, $1.8 million. I mean, this horse has had a wildly successful career, but was walked off or, eased out of the Grade 1 Pacific Classic and just hasn't ever returned to the horse he was. So I think it's probably time to retire. And if we don't see anything this week, I hope his connections do that for him.
Completely agree. I don't love telling other people what to do, but if we don't get a spark he's got to show something, right? Because it's just been so many races in a row where you're beaten over and over again. Stiletto Boy, we'll see if he has anything left. Dresden Row and Wadsworth, the 6 and the 7, we're going to get to next. I thought they made a little bit of sense here. Dresden Row was a graded stakes winner 2 starts back, just in really nice form overall. He's won 5 of his 9 starts. He's hard to really knock, but he'll come in from Woodbine, and we'll see where that form translates.
Yeah, and coming in from Woodbine, he does have a leg up on a lot of these in here when it comes to experience on the synthetic or all-weather surface, because his whole career has been up there, and 7 of his 9 races have been over that surface. So I actually really do like him. I didn't use him because
it's a tough race.
It's a tough race, and odds-wise, I like some value plays in here more, but I totally understand using him.
Wadsworth makes a ton of sense in here too.
Yeah.
He had a really long layoff. He was off for over a year. He came back off the layoff and ran a very good second. So you figure with that race under the belt, shook a little bit of the rust off, he could take a nice step forward now, second start off the bench.
Totally. This is a Godolphin homebred by Quality Road, proven stakes winner, actually broke his maiden over this track. Brad Cox's second entrant in here with the other one, the one Hush of the Storm. So I agree. I mean, they had 14 months off and then came back and ran really strong. So I expect improvement. I did use him underneath because of odds. I just wanted some longer odds in here. But this is a live horse in here.
Noises Off is the next one. He's another big price in here. I couldn't really get to making too much of a case for him. He has a little bit of synthetic form. Just doesn't seem like he's quite as fast as some of the others. Although the 2 back race at Kentucky behind Goliad is pretty good on paper when you think about what Goliad was able to do after that. Positives, negatives on Noises Off?
I think his lifetime best would be competitive in here, but most of his races are cut below that. And historically, after that layoff, he's just not really running fast enough. So I'm passing.
That's a good way of putting it. A horse I do know you like, though, is a really sharp horse right now. And we've seen Mike Maker do this so many times. Claim a horse, get them really sharp, and just step them up the ranks all the way into stakes company. Talk a little bit about Peros, the 9.
Yeah, my top pick in here, he's coming off a 4-race winning streak since July. He won at Belmont, at Aqueduct, Saratoga twice, and then Keeneland this fall. He's kind of a mid-pack closer, although he has come from far off the pace to win before. This is a step up in class with it being his first time against stakes company. But, his last race was more than fast enough to win here.
I didn't think there was all that much early speed in here. You and I will both use one kind of price horse that might be one of the speeds. You'll use the 10, Wonderful Justice, in your top selections as a horse who I think could be one of the quicker in here. Talk to us about the 10.
Yeah, he's run against some really tough horses in the Grade 3 River City, Battle of Normandy, Master of Foxhounds. So I think he can improve and bring a nice price to the exotics.
Then kind of the opposite end of the spectrum would be the 11, Big Blue Line, who doesn't have any early speed at all. Big Blue Line's going to drop way, way back. You can see on the pace projector the horse who's very, very far behind the rest, and then we'll try to mow them all down late. But Alexa, I think to the outside, the 12 is probably another one of those long shot speeds in Midnight West who will try to flash that early speed from the outside. So let's take a look. How did you get the selections for the Prairie Bayou for race number 6?
Yeah, I have 9 Peros on top, followed by Hush of a Storm, and then the Wonderful Justice, the number 10, and Wadsworth, the 7.
I went with the 1, Hush of a Storm. Dresden Row, Wadsworth, I thought made a lot of sense. I threw in a price of Midnight West to round things out. As we get set for our first commercial break, Alexa, let the folks out there know about the promotion we have for them.
Yep, we have a free all-access PP card for you. So that means you get Timeform USPPs, Formulator, and Classic. Just scan the QR code on your screen to get that free card.
We'll take a quick break and we'll talk Turfway Pick 4. it's time to talk about that Turfway Pick 4 on Saturday. There's an all-stakes Pick 4 Saturday, December the 14th at Turfway Park, races 4 through 7. And what I love about this Pick 4, Alexa, it is 14% takeout. I'm a takeout snob, and they've lowered the takeouts over at Turfway because you're someone who is betting often. And so when we're betting often, I want to make sure I'm getting the most of my money back with me when I win. For those of you out there who are sports bettors, if you're just betting a normal sports game, it's just 10% takeout. If you're betting like an underdog, or if you're betting a team on the money line, or sometimes props, sometimes you're actually not even having to put up. You're actually being able to bet without having to worry about the takeout or so much of the takeout. So when you can get lower takeout, like these are 14%. Some of the low takeout, we can see 12% sometimes, but generally around 15. Once you get up into 20, 25, that just means when you win, you're going to be winning less. So I don't want that. I know you don't want that.
Yeah.
We go into the 14% takeout Pick 4 for Turfway on Saturday. The first of those races, Alexa, is the My Charmer. And in this race, I thought we wanted to use a couple horses because the 2 Forever Dixie is absolutely a horse who's going to come closing if they go a little too fast early on. So I think that's a horse that we know from Woodbine up there that will come flying. There's not that much early speed in there, right? So we want horses that can sit a little bit. You have Dana's Beauty, who's also sharp, who's also versatile, who can sit. I think we'll use 2 others in here because we're going to go 4 deep in the first leg. So why don't you pick us up with the other couple?
Yeah, we're also going to use the number 7, Ghostly Gal, who's coming off of 3 straight wins with much improving form each time. The last was at Churchill, and although it was on the grass, it was at today's distance of 1.16 miles. And she keeps the same jockey who rode her to victory the last 2 out and has won over the Turfway course once before it last December. We'll also use the 11, Candace. This is a long shot play, morning line 20-1, who does like to be up near the pace early or a few lengths off. So they are starting really close to the turn. And so being in the 11 hole does worry me a little bit, but she doesn't need the lead. She just wants to be close. She did well this summer to win some stakes races at Parks and Colonial. So I'm hoping she shows us a little bit of improvement on the synthetic and can surprise at a really big price.
And sometimes a post position can kind of force you. Sometimes it'll be a negative, but other times it can be like a blessing in disguise. If they try to get really aggressive from the outside, just so they don't get hooked wide, that could put this horse on the front end. And I'm glad you wanted to use Keynesy on the ticket as a big long shot who could get a little brave up front and give us a really good run for our money. So we're going to go 4 deep in that first race of the sequence using the 2, the 4, the 7, the 11. We've got them mapped out, a couple horses who will sit close, maybe a long shot with speed, and then the 2 who might mow them all down. I mean, coming out of some really strong races up at Woodbine. So 2, 4, 7, 11 for us to get started. We flip the page to race number 5. This one is the Holiday Inaugural. These are all part of the Turfway Synthetic Championship. So this is 6 furlongs sprint for fillies and mares. Alexa, you're going to start us off in here. Talk a little bit about one of the horses that we use, who I think is maybe the horse to beat in here, the 5 Uppercase.
Yeah, I'm going to give you guys 2 logical plays in here. The first being the 5 Uppercase by American Pharoah, whose connections purchased her for $250,000. She's earned back more than that in her 14 career starts, finishing 10 of them in the first or second position. But she really seems to be at the top of her game right now, with her 2 fastest performances being her 2 most recent ones. She's won on the lead and from a few lengths off the pace, so she has that versatility. Just seems to be peaking right now as a 4-year-old. And then the 11, Love Appeals, another kind of low to medium shot at 4-1 odds, is a homebred who, similar to Uppercase, has had a successful career from the start, but looks to be peaking in her 4-year-old year with some recent lifetime best performances. Unlike Uppercase, she's had a lot more stakes company experience, but this will be her first time out on the synthetic.
Those are probably the 2 horses to beat, or 2 of the horses to beat in this race. Like if Love Appeals transfers the form over to the synthetic, she's going to be really, really tough in here. I'll take a page out of my good friend Todd's book and get a little crazy with the cheese whiz, as he likes to say, because 2 of the horses in here that I'm going to mention are bigger prices. The 8 BG Warrior, who's going to get back to synthetic. There might be versions of this race where this horse is the lone speed. You can see he's up front. She's up front, this 4-year-old filly. She could be the fastest one in here and maybe the speed of the speed. So I want to have her on the ticket just in case she can sneak away. And then to the outside, I'm not sure if Love to Shop, the number 12, is going to be such a big price of 15-1, but even if she's more like 8, 10-1, I still think that's very fair. She always shows up. Now, she's run second 4 times in a row, but she's never missed a top 3 finish in her entire career. She's always right there. She's run on synthetic. She can run on any surface, and she's pretty versatile too. Cutting back, I'm not really worried about her being a little bit wide because she'll have a little extra finish. So we've got a couple logical.
We touted her a couple weeks ago, I think, because I remember the name because
Yep.
I am guilty of loving to shop.
When we talked about the Woodbine races, and she was very good. She was second
right.
that day, chasing a lone speed winner. So we have 2 logicals and then 2 bigger prices in here. Alexa, as we move to race number 6, this is the race that we just previewed in the opening segment. So why don't you let the folks know, just kind of recap our picks, who we're going to use.
Yeah, just a quick recap of who we used in the pick 4. We're going to go with the 1, Hush of a Storm at 8-1. This is the first of the Chad Brown contingent with the best late pace in the race. We'll use the 7, Wadsworth, the other from the Chad Brown barn, and a Godolphin homebred by Quality Road, who's the proven stakes winner and has won over the track before. This is the second out after that convincing last out after more than a year off. And finally, the number 9, Peros, who's coming off a 4-race winning streak since July, coming in hot, trying to make it 5, but a taller ask with the first time against Stakes Company and the first time over synthetic.
So we'll be 3 deep there using the 1, 7, and the 9. Moving to the final race in the pick 4 sequence. That's race number 7. That is the Holiday Cheer. So in this race, Alexa, we read in a Daily Racing Form article that the outside runner, the number 12, Patches O'Houlihan, is going to scratch out of this race. So that will change the complexion a little bit and take one of the major players out of this race. Why don't you talk about who looks like the horse to beat now? The Big Bang Theory fans will be out in full force.
Yeah, number 1, Howard Wolowitz. This will be the 3-year-old colt's 6th lifetime start after closing into a blanket finish in the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint in the World Championships last month. His trainer, Jose D'Angelo, commented that he loves the synthetic surface. The one time he ran over it at Gulfstream, he wired the field by almost 8 lengths. So he's the one to beat.
And then we'll use a couple others. Let's pull up the pick 4 ticket right now if we can. All together, it's a $72 play. We'll use 1, 2, and 10 to close this thing out. Dream Shake, kind of the price horse that we throw in. So pick 4 ticket. We wish you the best of luck. It's a $72 play if you want to play it. Don't go anywhere, though. When we return, we're going to talk some mistletoe at Oaklawn. For our final segment, we're going to head on out to Oaklawn Park. Alexa, I'm a big fan of Christmas. So when I read the Mistletoe Stakes was this weekend and we're not even 2 weeks away from Christmas, I figured we'd have to do that. Before we get into the race, we're going to go horse by horse. 2 things. First off, I love technology nowadays because we got to give a shout out. We're really a coast-to-coast operation. I'm out here in Southern California. We got producer Rich, who's doing stuff from Vegas. We got Bobby and Mike, who are on the opposite side. You're in the middle of the country. We are all over the place. We're sitting here doing it all together, getting everybody the weekend preview. So I thought that was really cool as we have like 5 people in 5 different locations all doing stuff behind the scenes, doing a great job.
It's a great team.
But Christmas, most importantly, and the mistletoe. We'll get into the horses in just a second. You were telling me that you had a Christmas debate you wanted to bring up to my attention real quick.
Yeah, I just have a real hot topic burning question for you, Gino. I need to know, in your opinion, is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
I thought that's what you were going to ask me, so I rewatched it last night just to be sure. Hans Gruber, Nakatomi Plaza. We open up with Christmas. We end with a Christmas song. I have no problem if you want to watch it around Christmas. There's not a lot of Christmas stuff in it, but there's enough for me to fake it. So I'm okay anytime you want to watch it around Christmas. So now let's get the mistletoe up, hanging above. Let's head on out to Oaklawn Park for a quick look at race 9 on Saturday. This is the mistletoe, $150,000 up for grabs. The one Beau Draw, last win was in August and was put up via DQ. I just kind of thought he was a big long shot in here, Alexa. I couldn't make too much of a case for him.
I'm kind of laughing at my notes. I worked a very long day yesterday, and by the time I got to this race, I was a bit tired and spicy, and my notes are kind of reflecting that. I was like, he's not fast enough. He's never been fast enough. I don't know why he's in this race. But then again, the trainer's 4%, so it tracks. I don't like him.
The two, Tapit Janelle, if I'm looking for a long shot in this race, this might be one of them because she's run well at Oaklawn. She was a multiple graded stakes placed horse here last year. She's faced really nice horses like Torpedo Anna. She's going to make the third start back of her form cycle. She can sit a little bit. She has some speed. I don't know if she's good enough to win, but I could use her in like the tries. And if I was trying to get some value out of this race, she would be one of the horses that I was looking for. The number 2, Tapit Janelle.
You're on your own there. I don't love her in here. I mean, I feel like it's just a pass for me. It hasn't found the winner's circle in a long time, despite having class relief and testing out different distances. So I'm not big on him.
Wildwood Bye, that's the number 3. That's where we'll move next. Comes over from FanDuel, was a third place finisher last time out. It gets back to Oaklawn, where they have had some previous success at Oaklawn, but not a whole lot of early speed from this one. So probably going to be dropping back and making one late run.
Yeah, ran okay last out after that big long break, but I think we need to see a pretty significant improvement in here, and it's a tougher level and a longer distance, so it's going to be tough.
They could be really going quick early on in here. Stellar Lily is the number 4, who's one of those horses. She looks like she's the fastest on the Timeform US pace projector, but she's definitely going to be towards the front end, especially stretching out from the 6 furlongs back to a mile.
Yeah, and this is her favorite track. 9 of her 14 starts have been over it, and she won a nice allowance race going a mile on the dirt at Oaklawn in January. She wired the field that day and does have the best early pace again. So it's going to be a good race for her.
Well, Veronica Corningstone read the news and Anchorman. I think Corningstone might be the horse to beat in here, honestly, with the way the race sets up. I think this horse could get a really good trip coming from off the pace, Alexa. So what about Corningstone in here? Just hasn't really liked Oaklawn all that much, but I think she gets the trip. How do you feel about her in this spot?
Yeah, I agree. Actually, the 4 and the 5 are both cross-entered in a stakes tonight at Remington Park, so we need to double check later on to make sure they're still in this race. But Two Back was really quite impressive and didn't get the win, but I think could stalk here and close.
The number 6, Deck of Cards, had won 7 in a row
Yeah.
before finishing third last time out, and finished third behind a horse named Night Kiss, who came back to win their next start. So this is a really sharp horse. I have no concern about the class of this field. I'm just a little worried about the pace shape. If there's a lot of other speed, that might impact him late.
Yeah, I think deserving co-favorite in here. But again, we'll be setting up the pace or stalking Stellar Lily's pace. She's rarely not gotten the lead, so if Stellar Lily does snag that spot, it'll be interesting to see how it's handled.
I said hers, because these are fillies and mares, and then Taxed on the outside rounds things out. We talked about her a few weeks ago. She's a grade 2 winner. She's the class of the field, and she probably gets a really good setup in here with a lot of speed to run at.
Yep, she's won nearly $750,000. Absolutely the class of the field. So she's the one to beat.
Just a good look at this weekend's Mistletoe over at Oaklawn Park. But that's going to do it for this edition of the Weekend Preview. Alexa, as we say goodbye to everyone, why don't you remind the folks again how they can take a look at the all-access past performances?
Yeah, we're offering a free all-access PP card, so you get these Timeform US PPs we've shown you, as well as the DRF Classic and Formulator PPs. So just scan the QR code on the screen to get your free card.
We'll be back next week. Thanks so much.